Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
You'd almost think we were
Good evening and welcome to Good evening and welcome to Pastures Green, your virtual church. Your hosts for this evening are Sarah and Tony. Behind the scenes is our computer whiz, Michael. And if that wasn't enough, working for Spirit tonight is our guest speaker, John Ennis from Peterborough. Welcome, John.
Pleasure.
Welcome, John.
Just before I pass you over for the opening prayer, I think we'll give you an update about your church. Things are going very, smoothly at the moment. You're all being so kind with your donations.
Oh, yeah.
You're bringing in paint, paper, cupboards. I think we've had even the kitchen sink brought in. So that's a good thing.
And it didn't come out of my handbag.
No, but we really do appreciate all these gifts you're giving us.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will get us our way to opening our church a little bit earlier than we thought. So have you anything to add, Sarah?
The only thing that we are sort of short on really is flooring, isn't it? Lino and carpeting, which we are looking into. But if anybody's got any sort of offcuts of lino that they don't want that we could use for the kitchen, the toilet and the little hallway, we'd be very grateful. About you, Tony, anything?
Yeah. I can't think off the top of my head other than stuff you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Really. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think our biggest problem next will be actually finding storing for the main body of the church, because it's 30 foot by 20. So that's a bit of an expense in that. So if anybody can come up with anything other than what I suggested earlier on tonight, which you didn't see, which were pallets. I was thinking if we took them to bits, we could put them down in an herringbone sort of pattern and finish them. Somebody went quiet on me when I did mention. He's disappeared from view now, so we'll drag him back a bit later on, shall we, Tony?
You will.
So, just once again, thank you very much. And now I'm going to hand you over to Tony for the to join opening prayer.
Okay, right.
Say the opening prayer.
Yeah, everyone would just like to join together as we say, Heavenly Father, Divine and Gracious Spirit, we thank you for allowing us all to meet here this evening, and we thank you for the technology that brings us all together from all different parts of the countryside. We now respectfully invite the friends, families and loved ones of the people gathered here this evening to draw close to us. And as they're drawing close, we ask that everybody be surrounded in your lovely energy of love and light. And we also ask if you'll surround everybody with your healing energies as well, so that everybody may benefit whilst this service is being carried out. I'd now like to invite the guides and inspirers who wish to work with me here this evening and to use me as their communicator, so that our two worlds may be joined together as one for the duration of this service. And we ask that this service is carried out in love, light and truth. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh, thank you for that.
Are we doing philosophy? Are we doing philosophy tonight, guys?
John, do you want to do?
Are you doing philosophy, John?
Well, if you have one, I'll do one. I leave it totally up to you guys. I can do a philosophy if you want me to do a philosophy.
Just a little short one.
Yeah, well, you want me to do it now, do you?
Great. Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okie dokie. Right. What is? I will cut it short because it can go on for about 4 or 5 minutes. We've all got. Some people call it intuition. Some people say it's just knowing. Some people say it's when something just feels right. And I always like to use my philosophy and use them by telling a story. And the story is, I was with my daughter a few years ago now, and we're walking down the high street, and we're all used to seeing people sat in doorways. And as we walked past, there was this gentleman sat in the doorway, and I don't know what it was. I just looked at him as I walked past, and I thought, there's something different about him, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And he didn't look up, he didn't have a dog, he didn't have a blanket, he didn't have a begging bowl, nothing. He just sat there looking at the floor. Anyway, I carried on, and I'd only gone about 50 yards up the road, and I says to my daughter, I says, there's something not right. She went, what? I said, just wait there. And I walked into McDonald's, and I bought a breakfast with a cup of coffee, but with 4 sugars in it. And I went back to this man and I says, look, I'm terribly sorry, mate. I haven't got a lot of money. I don't know who you are. I says, but I've just been to McDonald's. I don't know why. I've got you a breakfast and I hope you forgive me, but I've got you a white coffee with 4 sugars. And I put it down on the floor. I turned to walk away and all of a sudden a voice went, thank you, John. And I sort of turned around and I went, what? And he looked, and I went, oh my God. I said, what in heaven's name has happened? And he went, well, you know my medical problems and everything else. I said, yeah. He says, it was getting out of hand. He said, I was getting no support. He says, so I took the only course of action that was left open to me. He just walked out on his wife and 3 young children. Wow. What people wouldn't realise is that I did, this gentleman suffered with PTSD. But at that time, it wasn't diagnosed. Anyway, we had a little chat, and I says, look, I said, he says, yeah, okay. Anyway, as I was walking away, that little voice inside of me went, stop, look in your wallet. And I went, there's nothing in it. And he went, look in your wallet. I opened my wallet, and at the back of it, there was a card. Now, where did this card come from? I haven't got the faintest idea. And it had 3 telephone numbers on it. Mm-hmm. So I went back to him. I says, here's a card. It's got some numbers on it. Hopefully they'll help you. So anyway, me and my daughter went off doing what we're doing. We come back about half an hour later and he'd gone. Then totally out of the blue, 11 and a half months later, I get a phone call. John. I went, yeah. He says, can you meet me outside Burton's a week on Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning? I went, yeah, okay, mate. And it didn't register with me until I turned up at Burton's, or what used to be Burton's. And I thought, hang on, this is where I last met him. And anyway, 9 o'clock come and he wasn't there. And I was just about to walk away and I looked and I seen this figure, shoulders back, head up, 3-piece suit, walking down the road as much as to say, here's me, don't like it, get out of the way because I'm coming through. Mm-hmm. And I just took one look at him and I went, mate, I said, you ain't half turned it round. He went, it's even better. I went, what? And I could hear somebody shouting, daddy, daddy, daddy. And sure enough, these 3 little children come running down the road. There's his wife. I went, what's happened, mate? What's happened? He says, that card you gave me with them phone numbers on it. I went, yeah. He says, the first number, there was nothing. I phoned the second number. They answered straight away. He says, they were with me in 10 minutes. He says, they listened to my story, put me in touch with the people, housed me temporarily. He says, well, everything's worked out. He says, and for the last 3 months now. He says, I've been at home, and he had his own business, and he said business is booming. Now, the moral of the story is sometimes we get a thought, sometimes we get a feeling, and it's how do we react to it. If I hadn't have gone with my gut instinct and bought that breakfast and got back, what would have happened? We don't know. Also, as well, it's always about us keeping our feet on the ground. Because he turned around to me and he says, I know you've not got a lot of money. He says, I will help you in any way I can. And I says, without being disrespectful, I says, I don't want any help. I says, and the biggest payment I have is seeing you reunited with your wife and with your family. So we've all got the ability inside us to bring about changes into somebody else's life. I was fortunate. I knew the outcome. A lot of us won't know the outcome. So just go with that, as I said, instinct, second sight, foresight, whatever you want to call it. I always say it's the little man in my head, and when he gives me a kick, I always take notes of what he says. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I hope everybody understands the message behind it.
That's fabulous, John. Did you see the little messages flashing up there, what everybody was saying about your story?
No, because I was too busy listening to Spirit to make sure it came out.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. Have a look back. We put the recording on Facebook. Have a look back what people were saying. That's really lovely. Yeah. Really lovely. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And that kind of leads me nicely into our Bible reading and poem. It is. It leads me into quite nicely into the Bible reading, which the theme for this week, we have a theme for every week. Yeah, it's be patient. That's what I was told to do this week. As you know, I never find these things; they always find me. So this week's Bible reading is Romans 12:12, and it's rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. I quite like that. And our the poem I've found was by Teresa Goran, and it's Hold On to Your Patience. And I love this because it makes patience sound like an actual person in effect. This is how I read it. Hold on to your patience. They're little, don't you know? They don't mean to annoy you. They're learning as they go. Take time to instruct them. Take time to explain why something is wrong or how it can cause pain. Hold on to your patience. They're looking up to you to find out what's right and what they should do. Hold on to your patience. They'll make some mistakes. Their character is formed by the choices you make. Hold on to your patience. They're learning, don't you see? With your gentle guidance, what kind of person they will be. And that's really nice. I like that. It's like your patience is a little person that you can sort of mold. And I think that's right, actually. You know, if you, So I hope that fitted in nicely with John's little story. That was lovely, his story. So yeah, be patient, everybody. You might get reading tonight. John's going to do blind reading, so you
yes, stay with us right until the very end.
I think they call it game on. Beautiful. Thanks, Sean. I think it is. I think we're all going to leave you.
Sorry.
It's all right. What Tony's saying is that we'll all drop down now and leave you on the screen. Do you know how to get the chat on StreamYard, John?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. And any problems at all, Tony can still hear you. So if you shout for him to come back, he can come back on screen.
I might, right, when I do it blind, I may do it slightly different to everybody else.
Cool.
So I may just need you to watch some of the messages in case I don't see them.
Tony will do that.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to give out some evidence first. And while people are digesting it, I've already picked a name out, and that's who I'm going to go to first.
Excellent.
So as I'm doing one message, the others can come through, and then hopefully we can just keep it flowing instead of stopping and starting. If Brilliant. That's all right.
Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. We're on till about 20 past 8. So if you make your last one about 1/4 past, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
And if
Right.
we'll all be listening to you. I didn't mean we've gone away and ignore you now. Make a cup of tea.
No, that's quite all right.
We're just going in the green room.
yeah, that's right.
Right. Well, so we'll see what happens. For those of you who haven't seen me before, what I will say is I can't bring anybody through. It's the people who want to talk to you who comes through. So please just think outside of the box. Right, as we're starting, evidence number 1. I'm bringing a lady forward. Now, as this lady comes in, I know this lady would have been a nurse. And I know she did nursing during her younger days. I want to say that she took a break to have her family and then she went back to nursing. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I know I'm going back a little bit with this lady purely because I can see a white starched apron and a white starched hat, and a lady looking very stern. So that's the first one. The next one I want to bring through, and it's somebody completely different. I'm bringing a gentleman through. Now, I'm being very, very specific here. This gentleman was in the army, and this gentleman served in Burma. And because he served in Burma, he's got a lot of medals, but I want to say he's got one medal that is very, very important. The next person I want to bring through now is, I've got another army gentleman, and he's different to the one I've just brought through, but this army gentleman would have been in the Second World War, and also he's telling me that he was part of the Liberation Force. And when I say Liberation Force, I'm on about prisoner of war camps. So we're being very, very specific with it. Now, while people are digesting that, can I go to Jade Whiteway, please? Jade, I need to come to you because I have got a gentleman here, but I need to bring a lady in for you first. Now, as this lady's coming in, she's coming in and she's putting her arms around you, and she's just saying, everything's going to be fine. She says, you're trying to do everything at 90 miles an hour. She's saying, just slow down a little bit. She says, we can't do everything in one go. She's also saying as well that to give yourself a little bit more time, will you put things down on paper? She's saying, because you've got so much going through your head at the minute that it's not that you're forgetting things, but you're getting things out of order. So she says, just be, she's on about you getting back to you being you. And as she comes in as well, she's bringing in a doll for you. And this doll's about 7 or 8 inches long. It's got blonde curly hair. Its eyes open and close. And its eyes would have been blue, but I see somebody's either got crayons or felt tips, and they used to put their own makeup on the doll and change the colour of the doll's eyes, whether they were supposed to or not. And right, so I hope you can understand all of that. Now, as we're here, I want to bring a gentleman forward for you as well. And as this gentleman comes in, I do feel with this gentleman that I've got issues around the heart area with this gentleman. And I'm going to say I feel as if it's involved a stroke, because my left arm has got pins and needles in it. So I'm going to say there's some sort of stroke condition around here. But this gentleman, he's just coming in and he's saying, like the lady, slow down, slow down. He's also saying as well that you like your warm drinks, but he's saying you need to have some cold drinks. So he's on about having some water. He says, and the more water you have, the better it will be. So a great deal of love and strength and support for you. And everything is things are going to start to improve for you. And things will be getting better. And he's saying, stop panicking over things that you can't control. It's all about moving on and moving forwards. And he says, keep doing what you want to do, and just keep looking to the future, because you have got a really, really good future ahead of you. And I'm going to leave all his love and all his support with you. Right, I see, looking quickly, that right, I've got two ladies. I've got Deborah Adams and Bernadette Emblem, who both got husband's granddad and father-in-law, both in Burma. Okay, for now, right. Deborah, can I come to you first? Bernadette, I will come to you. But Deborah, can I come to you first? So it's your husband's granddad. Now, why he's coming in because he's saying you in particular need a lot of strength and you need a lot of support at this time. But he's saying that you're doing all the right things. In fact, what he's saying is, he says, you need to sit down and put your feet up for a little bit of a while. He says, because he says, you're just on the go. He says, other people need to take the strain as well. He's also on about a male around you who's not very well at this moment in time. And he's saying, yes, we are all aware of it here. He says, we're on top of it. And he's saying it will all get sorted out. So people just need to stop panicking and need to stop rushing around all over the place. And also, Deborah, as well, now I want to bring a lady forward for you. And as this lady comes in, she's about 5'3", 5'4" in height. She's quite a rounded lady. She's quite rounded in the face. She's got, I'm going to say, greyish hair, but I do see little bits of a dark colouring in it. I'm not going to say she had black hair, but darkish hair, and I can see the dark flecks inside. I do feel, as I see this lady, I just see the ends of her hair are a little bit curly, but the top is quite straight. And I do know that this lady did have a lot of health concerns and health problems towards the end. She's saying the body may have given up on her. She says, but my mind didn't. She says, I always knew what was going on. And she just comes through with a great deal of love and a great deal of support for you. Also from this lady as well, she says, I've got to give you an orange rose. It's a weird one. I've not had an orange rose for a long time. But she says, I need to give you an orange rose. And that is very significant within the family. Also, as well, from this lady, I need to give you a glass slipper. So I'm not saying you're Cinderella and you've got to go to the ball. What she's showing me is that there is a celebration coming up. And she says, yes, you are to go, and yes, you are to start enjoying yourself. She says, you need to get out and about a little bit more. She's also on about, I don't know if it's you who's got problems with your knees, but I just feel there's issues around the knees. But she's saying, yes, that'll all get sorted out as well. She's going, don't you worry about it. Everything will be fine. So there's a great deal of love, strength and support, and I'm going to leave all that with you. Bernadette, I'll come to you now, please. Now, as this gentleman comes in, I know he's a very, very strong gentleman. Also with this gentleman, I do feel with him that he didn't like talking about his time away. He would general chit chat about army life, but he wouldn't elaborate on places he'd been to, what he'd seen and what he'd done. But he was very, very proud of his time in the army, and he was very, very proud of all the people that he served with. And he comes in around you because he's saying, he says, why is it, he says, you run around and you help everybody else, and then the one day that you need a little bit of help, he says, everybody seems to disappear. He's going, but don't worry about it. He says, what goes around comes around. He's also saying as well that, okay, he's saying that there's a lot of changes going on around you at the minute, and that these changes are very positive changes. I know that this gentleman as well, I do feel that he was very much a family orientated gentleman. He didn't always show it, but he liked to have his family around him. And what he's saying is, whether it's mileage or whether there's been a break in the family somewhere, but he's saying people are talking in the background. People now realise how important family is. And they're saying somebody is going to swallow their pride and they're going to be coming back. So he's saying, you've not got to do anything, just sit and wait. Okay. Also as well, right, who's it? Right, I'm going to stick with the gentleman because I've got another lady who keeps popping in and out, but she's not sure if she wants to come in just yet. What the gentleman's saying also, he's on about your diet. He says, you know how to eat properly, but sometimes you can't always be bothered. But he's saying, for you to function properly, you need to put the right food inside you. Also, as well, he's telling me about an eye test. So I do need to say that you must be due an eye test if you haven't recently had one. And he is saying there's a new pair of glasses coming. I do want to bring a lady in for you. Now, as this lady comes in, she's quite a tall lady, about 5'7", 5'8". She's quite slender as I see her. She dresses quite smartly, but very casually. And what she's telling me is she dresses for her surroundings. And I do have to say with this lady, I do feel I'm quite an intelligent lady. What she's saying is she couldn't explore the workplace like women and ladies can today. She says because her generation, it's as if your life was already mapped out for you. So what she's saying is, you know what you want to do with your life. She says, but you also understand the younger generation wanting to branch out. And she's saying, don't judge them on what they're saying, but give them the support. Because she says, if they've got that little bit of support, they will make the right choices and they will make the right decisions. So there's a great deal of love and a great deal of support coming for you. And I'm going to leave all that with you, if that's all right. Has anybody come on who could take the nurse? I'm going to quick look. Can't see anybody. Right, let me have a look. Right, can I go to Jan, please? I know you put on about Dad was in the Second World War, but you don't know about the prisoner camp. What I want to, as this gentleman is coming in around you, he just wants to come in and he just wants to put his arms around you, and he just wants to give you a big cuddle, and he wants to say how proud of you he is. He says, because no matter what's been thrown at you, he says, you keep going and you keep going. He says, the amount of times you've had to pick yourself up, he says, but fair play to you. I do need, he's laughing his head off because he's saying, even today, he says, you're more like a boy than the boys are. and he's going, you are really, really like me. And he's saying, yes, keep doing what you're doing. He's on about back problems, and I want to say it's the lower back, just above your coccyx, and it's more on the right side than the left side. He's saying it's just that you're lifting things, but you're not lifting everything properly or the way that you should do. But he wants, right. What he's saying as well is around. Okay, hang on. What are you giving her? Okay, right. I don't know if you'll remember these or not. He's just brought in a brown paper bag, and in this brown paper bag, I've got flying saucers, I've got jelly snakes, I've got little white mice. All right, and I've got a colour changing gobstopper. And he's laughing his head off. So I know he had a wicked sense of humour. But I just feel with this gentleman, he would do little silly things like that as you were growing up. And he says, just keep going, keep going. Right. I'm going to bring a lady in because this lady keeps coming in and out, but she's here now. Now, as this lady comes in, I'm purely going on the way that she's dressed, and I'm going to say more a grandmother than a mother, and purely because this lady, she's about 5'4", 5'5" in height. Please take this the right way. She's quite big in the chest area, but she's quite a cuddly lady as well. I know this lady, bless her heart, she had a lot of problems with her teeth. She didn't like dentists, so if anyone was wobbling or sore, she'd take them out herself or get her other half to take them out for you. But she's coming in, and she's just pushing you. She says, you know what you want to do? She says, come on, get a move on, girl. She says, you can't wait forever. She says, you started the changes, you can't stop them now. And it's about going with it. She's also saying, I don't know if this is you or somebody very close to you, but she's on about somebody wants to move house. She says, yeah, it's great moving house. She says, the only trouble is, she says, you've got about 3 houses in the house that you're living in. So she says, they need to start to declutter before they can move on. But they're saying they will move on, and they'll move on in a big way. And it's just about now keeping going, and they'll know what's right and they'll know what's not right. But they're saying, yeah, just keep looking to the future. They're also showing as well, like this lady, there's another lady who's coming in. This lady, she comes in, she's about 5'6", 5'7". She's got quite light coloured hair. I'm not going to say it's blonde, but it's a light coloured hair. She's quite long in the face. I can't see it properly, but she's telling me her nose is quite distinctive. But as this lady comes forward, she's got very long, elegant hands and fingers, and they are quite soft. She has got a gold coloured chain around her neck, and it's got quite a large pendant, and it is a pendant, not a cross. And I want to say it's the outside of it it's like half circles going all the way around it, gold coloured metal, and I'm going to say it's amber. I don't know if it is an amber stone, but it might just be amber glass in it. And she wears this around her neck. But what's important, as this lady comes forward, she's got a baby in her arms. This baby hasn't passed the spirit. This baby is in the spirit world, waiting to come down to somebody in the family. And I do need to say family, not friends. They're saying you'll need to act surprised, but at the same time, you won't be surprised. And she's saying it will be sooner rather than later. But she does come through with a great deal of love and a great deal of support and a lot of upliftment. And they're saying you can keep moving on and you can keep moving forwards. So it's just about you now doing what you want to do, and to keep looking to the future. It's no good looking behind you. You can't change what's happened. So you've just got to do what is right for you. And the more you do it, the easier it will be for you. And I'm going to leave all her love and all her support with you. Can I go to a lady called, I think it's Maria Kim, because I'm being told Maria, and as I was scrolling up, I saw one Maria and I seen a Kim. So I don't know if she's still online or not, but I do need to come to you as I've got two ladies coming in for you. Now, the first lady, as she comes in, she's only a tiny lady. She's only maybe 5'1" in height. She's not overly weight. She's telling me she's cuddly, but she doesn't look that cuddly. But she's a lady who would always put her arms around you and give you a kiss. And if you fell over, she'd say, I'll kiss it better for you. And she says she would make it work all right for you. And she says, you just need to keep believing in yourself. She says, I know you've had a couple of knockbacks recently. She says, but you've done the right thing. Rather than jumping in head first, like the second lady would have done, she says, you just took a step back and have a look and see what's going on. And she said, you do it the right way. You get all your facts and figures first. And when you have got your facts and figures, then you can come back at whoever and whatever it is. The second lady who comes in now, she's a taller lady. She's quite a strict lady as well. I'm going to say that this lady, although her hair is parted on the left-hand side, I do want to say that it's pulled quite tight and it's in a bun on the back of her head. And when she does let her hair down, I want to say that it's nearly down to her waist. She's a very, very strong lady. I do need to say she's a very, very opinionated lady as well. And as she comes in, she's going, when you were a youngster, she says, you used to be really opinionated. She says, because you used to let your mouth run away with you. She says, and I always thought you took after me. She says, but no, she says, you take after the other one now. She says, you have to rationalise everything and take a step back and look at it and make sure everything's worked out properly. And she's saying, yes, you're doing all the right things. She's on about the boys. I don't know if you've got children, but what she's on about is young boys who may be around you. So if you've got sons, we're talking about your children. If not, they may be nephews of yours. But she's saying, yes, they're a law unto themselves, but she's saying they will make you and everybody else very, very proud of them. The two ladies are joining forces. They're having a little bit of a powwow. They're saying, I've got to tell you. Right. I don't know where this fits, but I do need to give a wedding ring. Now, I don't know if the wedding ring is for you or if it's for somebody if it's not for you, it's for somebody very, very close to you. And she's saying, right, she's saying, yes, it's been done for the right reasons. They're laughing their heads off now because they're going, I know it's not a shotgun wedding, because that's what people are going to think, because it's as much as, hello, this is so-and-so, and then 3 or 4 weeks later we're getting engaged, and then 6 months later they're getting married. They're saying it's not a shotgun wedding, it's just both parties involved will know that it's the right thing to do and it's the right thing to happen. So they're saying, okay, for you also, I do need to say, and there's a gentleman who comes in now. Now, as this gentleman comes in, he's not a tall man. He's only about 5'6", 5'7". I'm sorry, I'm struggling with my words at the minute, but I've got terrible heartburn and I've got terrible indigestion. And I want to say that this is what this gentleman would have been like. He's telling me he used to take great delight in sitting in the corner, and these are his words, not mine, belching out of both ends. And he's laughing his head off as he says it. But why he's coming in, what he's saying is he doesn't know why, but people always seem to listen to him, and they always seem to go to him with their problems. And he's saying, I'm coming to you because he's saying, I can see that you want to change your career path. And he's saying, yes, go for that career path. He's saying, yes, you can change that career path. He says, yes, you are young enough. But what he's saying is, sometimes you're your own worst enemy. You talk yourself out of situations. And he says, don't. He says, it's all about you now, moving on and moving forwards. And he comes through with a great deal of love and a great deal of strength for you. He's telling me as well, right, I'm not sure what the name of the doll is called, but he's bringing in a doll for you because he says you always wanted one and you never got one, and everybody else down the street had one. And it's one of these dolls that cries, but when you pick it up, it stops crying. But then it cry again and you have to give it a bottle. And I also need, it's one of these dolls that you have to change the nappy on it as well. And he's bringing that in for you. And he says, I know it's a little bit late, he says, but I know that you still want one. He says, because to him, he says, you're still his precious little girl. And he says, you always will be. And he does come with so much love, and he comes with a great deal of support for you. And he's just saying, keep going, do what you want to do. And it's about you now moving on, moving forwards. And he's saying, don't take any prisoners, just keep doing what you want to do. And I'm going to leave all that one with you, if that's all right. Right, can I come now? I'm being told Lisa. So I need to talk to Elisa, who's on here, please. If there is a Lisa on, let me have a look. Oh, yes, there's a Lisa there. Lisa, I need to come in for you. And I've got a gentleman coming in, and you're all right, Lisa. I'm not going to sing to you because he's just coming in and going, Lisa, do you love me? Lisa, do you care? And what he used to do, he used to find songs that he knew, but he put your name in, or he put somebody else's name in, and he'd pretend that the song was written about them. He's a very, very down-to-earth gentleman. I do feel with this gentleman as well, I'm starting to talk a lot slower with him, so I know in later years it's quite possible that he used to struggle to get his words out at times. But he wants you to know that he's all right. He's also saying as well that he thanks everybody for the prayers that they sent him when he passed away. And he said it meant a great deal to him. He's also saying as well that he didn't realise how much of other people's time he actually took up until he passed over and could actually look back on what had happened. And he thanks everybody for the support that they gave him. And he said, yes, I was comfortable. But yes, I was irritable at the same time. He says, but it's nothing for people to worry themselves about. I do feel with this gentleman as well, and don't get me wrong, he could be quite an opinionated gentleman if he wanted to be. I do feel that he mellowed in later years, but he still had a little bit of a fire in his belly. And if anybody said anything about his family or upset his family, boy, did he give them down the road. Because he says, nobody's allowed to say anything about my family except me. And he says, you're just like that. He says, you don't like anybody bringing anybody down. And he's saying as well, he's saying, okay, right. What he's telling me to say to you, and please take this the right way, Lisa, because I don't know who you are. But what he's saying is, I'm surprised you've not been in A&E this last 6 months. He says, because how many more times are you going to bite your tongue and bite your bottom lip? He says, I can see your blood boiling and you just want to bang heads together. He says, but fair play to you. He says, you have got the patience of a saint. He says, I haven't. He says, but yes, keep doing what you're doing. Also with this gentleman as well, he's telling me I've got to say to you, Lisa, he says, I've got to promote you, whether you like it or not. He says, in his eyes, you're the head of the family. He says, I'm not bothered if there's people older than you, and I'm not bothered if there's men around. He says, you're the head of the family. He says, because you know the family traditions and you know the family principles. Also as well, Lisa, what he's saying as well is, oh, blimey, okay, right. He's going, as much as you like people around you at Christmas time, he's going, will you think before you start inviting people? He says, because otherwise, he says, you'll forget, and then suddenly on the 20th of December, you'll be going, oh, I've got a nice quiet Christmas. And then suddenly the phone will be going, oh, yeah, we're going to take you up on your offer. Yeah, we'll take you up on your offer. And you'll be going, I ain't got enough chairs. I ain't got enough plates. So he's saying, but yes, it will be a good Christmas. He's saying, but your Christmas won't. Yes, you'll have Christmas Day. But what he's saying is, I do feel, and he says it will suit you more, that your Christmas will be spread over 3 or 4 days. Because he's saying the extended family will want a little bit of you as well. So he's saying, I'm not saying you've got to do all the cooking, because he's saying, no, you haven't. Other people will. He's also saying as well that if other members of the family invite you to them for Christmas, he says, well, why not go? He says, yes, you could do it. And he says, you'll always be able to do it. Okay, what's happened? Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I know you just put on about the funerals and that, but he's on about you just in life in general. That you've always been the strong one. You've always been the one that's focused. You've always been the one that's full of family values. He is bringing a lady forward for you now. I'm not saying it's mother or grandmother, but he's bringing a lady forward. And I know this lady is in the family. And with this lady, I'm going to say she's not a tall lady. She's maybe 5'2", 5'3". She's quite a slender lady. In fact, she's quite fragile looking as I see her. This lady, I want to say, can be quietly spoken, but she says when she raises a voice, she raises a voice. And also with this lady, I want to say, she says, I may not have been the brightest one in the pack, she says, but there was nothing wrong with my hearing, she says, and I always knew what was right and what was wrong. And she says that she looks down on you. I don't know. I'm going to say that your hair is a little bit longer now than it was at the start of the year, but not as long as it used to be when you were a youngster. Because what this lady's telling me is, she's saying you've always had a fine head of hair, and she always used to like brushing it. It was, as much as it was therapy for you, she's saying it was therapy for her. And now she's laughing her head off because she's saying you had a habit of twisting your hair around your fingers. So when she go to brush your hair out, she says you will always had knots. So sometimes you'd be sitting there crying your eyes out. But as I say, there's so much love, so much upliftment from these ladies. And like the gentleman, they're so proud of what you've achieved and what you're going to achieve. And they say, just keep looking forwards. And it's not about looking back. It's about looking forwards. And they're saying, you can do whatever you want to do. Yes, right. They're on about as well that you're looking at bringing about some minor changes in your living arrangements. And they're saying, yes, if that's what you want to do, and if it makes you happier, then yes, you go for it. And they're saying everything will be fine because you take your time and you work everything out. And they're saying the more you work things out, the easier it will be. So I'm going to leave all their love, and there is a lot of love and there is a lot of support coming to you. And I'm going to leave all that with you, if that's all right. Have we got a gentleman on tonight by the name of Paul, please? I need to see if there's, because the shouting Paul, 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 and I'm asking, is it down here or upstairs? And they're saying down here. Let me have a look, see if I can see a Paul. I had a Paul somewhere, I've lost him now. Paul, oh, you're there, Paul. Right, Paul, I need to come to you. Right, I have got two gentlemen here for you, but I want to bring this lady in first, because this lady's coming in, and she's coming in and she says, yes, she says, I am in death as I was in life. She says, I embarrassed you when I was here. She says, and I'm embarrassing you when I'm not here. Because she says, yes, she says, I'm coming up and I'm going to give you a big cuddle. She says, and I'm going to give you a kiss in public. She says, because I'm not bothered. But as she's saying it, she's laughing her head off. And I do feel with this lady, she was a very jolly lady. She was a very happy-go-lucky lady. And I'm not here to upset you, Paul, but what this lady's telling me to say to you is, yes, she did pass the spirit quickly. She's saying, she's laughing her head off because she's saying, yeah, I've seen people going backwards and forwards. Is it tonight? Is it tomorrow night? Is it today? Or is it next week? She says, I went when I wanted to go. And she said, I was quite happy passing to spirit the way that I passed to spirit. And she's also saying as well that she was very surprised at who turned up for her funeral. She says, right, we're not getting into arguments. She went, I don't believe the cheek of that woman turning up at my funeral. She says, she didn't speak to me for years. But she's saying it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and she's having a little bit of a laugh and a joke. But she just wants to come in. She wants you to know how proud of you she is. And she's on about, I may not have been here when it happened. She says, but that doesn't stop me sharing your success. So whatever it is that you've just succeeded in since this lady's passed, she's on about exams and you achieving a lot of things. And she's saying she's just so proud of you. And she's saying, yes, she says, I watch every step you take. She says, and she's, oh, right, okay. I don't know if you'll understand this, but what she's saying is sometimes you smell lavender around you and you look around and go, who's that? Who's that? And she's saying, it's me. She says, I'm just letting you know. Nobody else knows. She says, so when you smell lavender, she says, yes, you'll know it's me. She says, and I'm here and I'm looking out for you. She says, but I want you to know I'm so proud of you. She says, I can also see, right, she's on about more courses coming your way. She's going, and yes, you will pass them. She says, you don't have to settle for second best. She says, none of my boys need to settle for second best. So she says, you want to achieve, you achieve. She's just taken a little step back, because the first gentleman, as he comes in, he's quite a stockily built man. I'm going to say he's about 5'10", 5'11". He's very much a short back and sides type gentleman, and he's very clean shaven as well. And with this gentleman, he wears a flat cap, but he's saying the reason he wears a cap, he says, is because he lost his hair and he likes to keep the heat in. It's not a fashion statement, it's just the way he was. And I do feel with this gentleman, as he's coming in, I can see him a bit closer. It's quite strange, because he's got a shirt on, but it's an open neck shirt, and he's got a cardigan on. And if he's going out for a drink, he'll put his suit jacket over the top of the cardigan, because he's saying he always went out smart. He's also telling me as well, he's on about his funeral. He says, I heard the arguments. He says, and he's telling me a lady won and they put a tie on him. He says, I only ever wore ties for funerals. He says, why would I want to wear a tie to my own funeral? He says, because I couldn't take it off. But he's just having a laugh and a joke about it. But Paul, he's coming in around you, because he's saying, it doesn't matter what family say. It doesn't matter what friends say. It's what you know is right for you. And he's saying, you've got his backing and you've got his support. Now, as I'm saying this to you, Paul, you're going to say that isn't his personality. He is saying, when we're up here, he says, we can change. He says, I'm not saying I've changed, but he says, how I see you now, I see with a different pair of eyes. So he's saying, yes, you can do whatever you want to do. And yes, just keep moving on, keep moving forward, keep making the plans for the future. The second gentleman comes in. He's a little bit shorter than the first gentleman. He's quite a slender man. He's telling me he was always skinny. And with this gentleman as well, okay, right. He says he liked football, but he says he liked the other football more. So I want to say rugby. He's not telling me if it's rugby union or rugby league. Oh, hang on, I've got to clip round the ear on. He's on about rugby league. So I want to say he liked watching rugby league. Right. Okay. Right. With this gentleman, I don't know if it's him or if it's just a family tradition, because he's come in and he says, I've got to give you a lump of coal. Now, normally a lump of coal, it's strange, because a lump of coal you normally get New Year's Eve, first footing. But he's saying it's the only thing that he can give you. He says he wasn't a wealthy man. He says, but the coal hole was always full. But the two men who are in spirit are both just here to give you their strength and to give you their support. And they're on about you. Although you trust your instinct, they're saying you don't always believe in yourself. They're saying you should believe in yourself. And it's about you getting to know who you want and where you want to go. So they're just saying, keep moving forward, keep looking to the future, and anything and everything is possible. And it's about you now moving on and moving forwards. Right, who am I going to? Where am I going to next? Where am I going to next? Where am I going to next? Oh God, tell me, Spirit, tell me, Spirit. Right, Spirit are telling me, have we got a Delia, please? A Delia. Spirit are shouting Delia at me. I don't know. Oh yeah, there's a Delia there. Right, Delia, I need to come to you. And I've got a lady coming through for you. and she's telling me the only connection you've got with Delia Smith is your first name, because she's saying, boy, I see you in the kitchen, she says, and it's a chore for you at times. But she's just having a little bit of a laugh and a joke at your expense. But she's coming in, she's going, right, she's saying, will you stop worrying about the youngsters? She says, the youngsters are fine. They know what they're doing. She says, and they plan their own, they may still be young, but they're still planning on what they want to do. So what they're saying is, you may think, have I been a good parent? Haven't I been a good parent? And they're saying, yes, you have. You've installed in them what's right and what's wrong. You've also installed in them your principles, which you got from this lady, I need to say. And she says, you are a very strong lady. And she's saying, yes, at times recently your patience has been tested. But she's saying, just keep persevering. She's going, it doesn't matter if the 21, 41 or 61. She says, they're still children in your eyes. She says, and now you might know what it was like for me as you were growing up. She says, you were bad enough between 12 and 16. She says, when you got to 16, she says, I was a nervous wreck. She says, because I couldn't settle until I heard the back door or the front door open, because she was always worried that something may happen to you. And she says, you're exactly the same now with yours. And she says, that's what mothers do. She says, and we're always there for each other. Mother is asking me to ask you as well. She's saying, will you please put my photograph back on the record player, please? She's saying, I've spent enough time in this box. She says, I want to go back on the record player or else on the sideboard so I can see what's going on. And I think you know which photograph she's on about. It's not a coloured photograph. Well, I'm seeing it as a black and white photograph. It may be one of the first coloured ones, but it's faded with the light. But she's saying, can she have her photo back, please? She's also coming through. I know we had a little bit of a joke at the start about you in the kitchen, but she's coming in with a cake that has been iced. So that will show me that either in the last 2 weeks or the next 2 weeks, there is a birthday or there is an anniversary coming up. And she's saying, you're normally quite good at remembering birthdays and anniversaries. She says, but there's been a couple of times this year you've nearly come unstuck. She says, don't forget the ones in October. And she's been very specific here. Don't forget the ones in October. Right. I want to bring this gentleman in now. Now, as this gentleman comes in, I get a real bad tightness in the chest with this gentleman. I get a very strong smell of tobacco. But I want to say it's cigarettes rather than a pipe. He is making me aware that he in later years he sort of had to make do with roll-ups, but he preferred plain cigarettes. And he's telling me he liked Park Drive and he liked Senior Service, but his favourite, he says, and I've got it upstairs, he says, was Capstan Full Strength. So he's saying, when you're getting cigarette smoke around you, that's him letting you know that he's around. He's on about a rose bush in your garden that he's saying it's looking a bit weather-beaten. There's not enough flowers on it. Well, there's not as many flowers on it this year as there was last year. And he's saying, when the bad weather comes, he says, cut it right down. It's as if it wasn't cut back properly last year. He's saying, and if it gets cut right down, he says, everything will be fine. And he's saying, okay. He's saying, pottering about in the garden does you good at times. Okay, right. That's all right. There's another lady who comes in, Now, as this lady comes in, I do feel a wheeziness with this lady. And I'm going to say I've got an issue in the lungs with this lady. I'm not saying it's cancer. I want to say it's more of a pneumonia or a pleurisy type condition. There may also be a touch of emphysema with this lady as well. But she's saying why the ladies are coming in. I'm not saying you've been in a bad place, but what they're saying is you've been in a tunnel and you don't know if you've come out of it or not. They're saying, yes, you are coming out of it. In fact, you are already out of it. And they're saying, now is the time for you. Oh, okay. Now is the time for you to start looking at putting down new roots. Now, this could be symbolic, or it could be for you starting a completely new journey. But what they're saying is it's about you now putting down new roots. And the more you put down, the quicker you put down your new roots, the quicker the good things will happen. But what they're saying for is please don't wish for everything at the same time. And be careful on who you wish back into your life as well. It may be a case of you say, oh, I want X, Y, and Z to be around me. The only trouble is X, Y, and Z may all turn up on the same day and then you won't be able to cope with it. So just do it one at a time. And they're saying you're doing all the right things. And the rest of this year is going to be very productive. And it's now all about you moving on and moving forwards. And I'm going to leave all their love and all their support with you. Right. I'm going to do another message, but first I need to throw this one out. Now, I'm being told, because this gentleman has been with me on and off for about the last 4 hours, the person who is here tonight may or may not receive the message. You don't have to let me know if you don't want to. You can private message Tony, Sarah, Jeanette, just to say you understand, because I know that what I'm about, and I'm going to be very, very careful here what I say. I want to say I've got a gentleman here who passed to spirit before he should have done. Also, with this gentleman, he's saying it was a very big shock to a lot of people. And all I'm going to say on the matter is I've got a condition around my head with this gentleman. If anybody wishes to accept him, that is fine. I'm just putting it out there. What I will say is if anybody is willing to accept him, I can assure you what I have just said is as bad as it will be. There will be no more said about his passing, and I'll leave all that with you. Can I go to Amy Lou, please? Because your name's just popped up and I don't know why. Amy Lou, I need to come to you. Quickly, I want to bring a lady in for you. And as this lady's coming in around you, she's a busy lady. She's about 5'5", 5'6". She's not been to a funeral or anything like that, but she comes dressed in dark clothing. And the reason she's dressed in dark clothing is purely for practical reasons, because this lady would do everything by hand, washing, cooking, cleaning. And when I say ironing, I see the old iron placed on a range to warm up, and then they'd spit on the bottom to see if it was hot enough. And they'd use those wrinkly divans that everybody used to have on the bed to iron the clothes. The only trouble was shirts and trousers all looked as as if they've been at sea, because they've got snakes crawling up and down them. But no, why this lady's coming in, what she's saying is, Amy, she's saying, you just need a little bit more organisation. She says, you're still the same as you were. She says, everything is on a whim and a prayer sometimes. She says, you do get there. She says, but at times you have to go all around the houses. And she says, there is shorter ways and quicker ways of doing things. Right. Right. So something came up and I just lost it a minute. Right, Amy, back with Amy. Yeah, right. So what this lady's saying is she just wants you just to take back a little bit of control. She says, you need to be in control of life, not life controlling you. She says, I know it's easy to say, she says, but you know how to do it and you know what you need to do. Also, there is a gentleman who comes in. I don't know if you're a spiritual lady or not, Amy, but the gentleman is saying he watches you and he sees the thoughts and he feels the feelings that you're getting. If you're not sitting in a circle or an awareness group, when the situation changes, by all means find a circle or an awareness group. You need to channel that energy. You need people to explain to you what is happening. It's nothing to be scared of and it's nothing to be frightened of. And what the gentleman is telling me as well, he's saying it ran in his side of the family, not the female side, this gentleman's side. But as this gentleman comes in, I know he's a gentleman who was very proud of his appearance. I do see grey hair around the side with him. He would always wear a tie when he went out of the house. Just a very, very down-to-earth type gentleman. And he just comes through with so much love and so much support and a great deal of strength for you. And he's saying, please, please just keep doing what you want to do. And he says, he says, you can achieve a lot and there is a lot going on for you. So please, please just keep looking forwards and keep doing what you're doing. He says, because you're a great asset to the family. He says, you're very well respected amongst your friends. He says, and you've got a knack of saying the right things at the right time. And a bit like other people tonight, you just need to believe in yourself. And the more you believe in yourself, the better it will be. And I'm going to leave all that love with you. Right, with regards to that gentleman who came through, there's lots of different comments coming on. I'm not going to pick one person out. I'm just going to tell you all what this gentleman is saying. And if it resonates with all of you or one of you, then that's the main thing. What the gentleman is saying is he's so, so sorry. He says he didn't realise his passing would affect so many people. He's telling me when he passed to spirit and he looked down, he could see the shock waves going out. He said where he thought it would only affect 4, 5, maybe 6 people, he says, how wrong was I? He says, I didn't realise how many people cared for me, how many people loved me, and how many people respected me. And he's not just on about the family here. He's on about friends, work colleagues, associates. He wants everybody to know nobody was to blame. He's saying it's just one of those things. He says, life can be cruel. What he is saying is he's just thankful it was quick. He said he passed over quite easily. I do need to say with this gentleman, he heard about spiritualism, but wouldn't necessarily, he had heard about spiritualism, and I want to say he used to take the mickey out of it, But the reason he took the mickey out of it was because he was afraid of it. But he says he heard what family and friends used to say about it. He says, and boy, he says, you lot just don't know how true it is. He says, in fact, he says, a lot of you will have your eyes opened, he says, because from what I've heard people say and talk about, he says, it's a lot better over here, he says, than it was down there. But he just comes through with a great deal of love. And he's going, I don't care if it's a man, a woman, or a child. He says, I'm putting my arms around you and just giving you the biggest cuddle and say that I love you and I love you all. And I thank you all for everything that you've done. And I thank you all for everything that you have said. And he just can't thank everybody enough for the way that his memory is right. It's all right. He's getting a bit emotional. He wasn't an emotional man. He's quite a strong man. But as this man comes in, he's going, although I've passed over, he says, I feel as if I still walk among you because people still talk about me as if I'm there. It's as if I've just popped down to the shop or gone for a drink and that I'll be home in a little while. So, as I say, if anybody understands this gentleman, fine. If you understand that message, fine. It doesn't matter if there's one of you understands it or 10 of you understand it. What this message is all about is about bringing family and friends together and just showing that everybody suffers the same grief, but that when everybody passes to spirit, we all pass slightly differently, but when we get over there, everything is the same. Right. Why? He's just giving me a little bit more. Why he said he's not bothered if you're a man, a woman, a child, or a baby. He's just putting his arms around you, giving you a kiss and a cuddle, and says he loves you all. He's making me aware that he was a man who very much kept his emotions to himself when he was on the earth plane. As much as he would love people and respect people, he didn't always tell them. He sort of bottled everything up. But he's saying, I'm free. I can do what I want. I can go where I want. I can talk to whoever I want. He says, I've got no reins and chains holding me back. It's about me being me and doing what I can do. And as I say, I mean, it might only be one person. I can't see because I've got my eyes closed because I'm concentrating on this gentleman. There may only be one of you who can take the message. There may be 15 of you who can take the message. It doesn't matter. Listen to what the gentleman has said and what the underlying thing is. We place constraints on ourselves, and that's what this gentleman did when he was here walking amongst us. But it took passing over to the other side to let go of those chains. So he's saying, we've all got the opportunity, as we are all still breathing, to let the chains go. Be a little bit freer. Be more about ourselves. Let others see that personality. A lot of people know you've got the personality, but we don't always open up because we're always that little bit private. And we always like to keep a little bit back in reserve. But a great deal of love, a great deal of strength, great deal of support. I'm going to leave all that one with you. My screen's going loopy, so it must be time for Sarah or Tony to take over. And I must have bored you to tears by now. I'm going to have a quick drink and I'll leave it up to the lovely Tony and Sarah.
Oh, you've not bored us to tears, John. You've been amazing. You've kept everybody with you all the way to this evening. Can't thank you enough. And I'm sure that if you look back on the recording and see all the messages you were getting, you'll see how much love there was for you.
The only trouble is when I work, I have my eyes closed. So
I did notice that. These little messages kept popping up. Little messages kept popping up, and I thought, oh, no, I don't know how to tell you they're there.
Spirit just pointed me where I needed to go. I'll apologise now. I know I work slightly different to other people doing blind readings, but I just like to keep it flowing. I
thought that was great, actually. I thought it flowed very, very well. I thought it was a really good way of doing it, that they told you who you wanted to go to. I liked that. It's almost like when we're in church, you know, you're sort of drawn to someone and it's the same idea. So that was really good. So yeah, thank you.
As I say, all we're doing was giving me a name. So I just went with it. And I'm somebody who doesn't work with names.
Don't ask me, I'm terrible at names, I tell you. What's worse is the job I'm in, everybody remembers mine, and then they're going, oh, Sarah this and Sarah that. I'm thinking, quick, please somebody tell me their name. Come on, Spirit, where are you? I don't know if Tony's mic's on mute. Do you know your mic's on mute, Tony?
I didn't.
Hey. Bless you. I thought the doggies were barking, so I just was waffling to fill in for you. I was nearly putting jam and cream on it.
No, absolutely brilliant night, John. Thank you so much.
It was. And thank you.
Thank you for donating a reading to raffle. We're going to be raffling a reading with John over the next week, so you'll see a post go up. It'll be, I think it's £2 a ticket. We're raffling £2 a number. We're raffling 20 numbers, and then we'll pick a name out next Thursday to win a one-to-one reading with our lovely John.
But now that you see me, you probably won't sell a ticket.
Oh, we will. We will.
That's why we'll after your service, so people will be able to see.
Absolutely. You'll be a sellout, John. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. I'm just an old man who listens to the gossip.
Would you like to do our closing prayer for us, please, John?
I certainly will.
Thank you very much.
Everyone can just join together for the last time this evening. As we say, Heavenly Father, Divine and Gracious Spirit, we'd like to thank firstly all the friends, families and loved ones who joined us here this evening. We thank them for their words of guidance, of love, of support, and for the few tears and laughter, and we wish them a safe journey back to their friends in the spirit world. I'd like to thank the guides and inspirers who've been close by me this evening and used me as their communicator, and I thank them for their patience and understanding, and I look forward to working with them again in the near future. We now respectfully ask that all the energies that have been created around each individual here tonight, that it all joins together and it's sent directly to those people who are in most need of its healing at this time. And not forgetting this planet on which we live, which has undergone so many disasters this year. And also especially to our friends in the animal kingdom, because so many people today only have their pets for company. So they need as much healing as we do. Amen.
Amen.
Lord, keep us safe this night, secure from all our fears. May angels guard us while we sleep, till morning light appears. Amen.
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 You're getting very good at that, Tony.
I am, aren't I? I'm not brave enough to sing it like our Jean does, though. She sings it. I'm not doing that. We'd lose viewers instantly.
Well, why do you think I never do it?
Are there any more notices this?
Just next week's speaker, really. Next week's speaker is another new one for us, Martin Quigley. I've just messaged him to make sure we're all a go for next Wednesday, so that'll be good. But other than that, and if you keep your eye on the Facebook, we're going to post some photos of how we're getting on with the new church. And please support us any way you can.
Yep. Watch out also for the raffle post for John's reading. That should be coming out tomorrow. So fabulous. Well, all I can say now is good night and God bless, and thank you all for watching and supporting the church. And we shall see you all next week.
We will. Thank you. Good night. God bless everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you
night,
again,
John.
John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.